What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Step It Up Entrepreneur Podcast. Your host, Thomas Keenan, coming at you today, back at the home office. And I know I say this all the time, but I got a special guest, right? And we say that special guest quite often. But this dude who's coming in here today, him and myself have literally years of history. For any of those of you who've read my book, Unfuck Your Business, I'm pretty sure Dean is mentioned in that book a couple of times because this has been a gentleman who's been extremely influential to me, not just in a business sense, but also in a personal sense. The office that you see Dean in, I think it's an updated office at this point, but I have spent more hours in Dean's office than I could possibly comprehend. And when I was running my last service-based company, Dean was one of the, I don't even want to use the word just coach for you because you're more than that.
Thank you.
Coach, consultant, marketer, strategist. I mean, there's so much that encompasses what you do as an individual and how you help your clients. And I'm just grateful for you, man. And I just appreciate the hell that you poured into me for so long. Granted, we had a business relationship and I paid you.
Right.
That's part of the way it works.
Right.
But you just gave me way more than what the cost was or the value was. The value exchange, in my opinion, came heavily from you versus to what I had been paying you at that time. So, man, with that being said, I welcome you to the show, and I'm just excited and honored to spend some time with you and catch up. It's been a bit.
Absolutely, Tom. Let me tell you, I'm honored as well. It's going back to the days that you're reflecting and speaking of. As I said to you then, as I would say to you now, there was something in your eyes. I saw it. I could see it clear as day. You didn't recognize it yet.
No.
But you were about to recognize it. You were on that cusp. You were just looking for an excuse, a reason, or something to give you a little kick in the you-know-what. And I'm so glad you're stepping into that power I should say, just stepping into the power you haven't even realized yet. You're on your way, my friend.
Yeah.
And as a friend, as a coach, as a whatever, I know we had a paid relationship, but I think it went further than that.
Yeah.
That's the most gratifying thing I could ever have when I see that happen. Yeah. When I see you do your stuff, I see you crushing it out there. I see people responding to it. Woo! Boy, does that get the juices flowing. You know what I'm saying? That really gets things happening.
Yeah.
So awesome, man. Very, very cool to be here with you.
Yeah. Thank you. And to that, it's the reason I do what I do now. Right? Because you had that experience with me. It's like you helped me get from point A to point B and beyond. And now I have the opportunity to do the same thing for my clients.
Right.
And
right.
I've got a handful of clients who've been working with me now for 3, 4, some probably even going on 5 years at this point. And
right.
to see the transition in these folks from when they started to where they are now, wow.
It's wild. And that's the key that I like. You are feeling what I was feeling and what I still feel as you're seeing some of these people step into their power and you're seeing great things start to happen for them. And you could sit back and say, wow, man, this is freaking cool. How cool is it to be able to move, to touch, move, and inspire people to something bigger than even they imagined?
Yeah.
Right? It's wow. That's a wow. That's when we know we're living a life fulfilled, right? It's awesome.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. I want to dive into what you do and how you're helping your clients now. But I like to save that more for the end of this. But you've got a hell of a story as far as what got you to where you are now in the coaching and consulting space. Let's give the listeners a little bit of that background of your time spent in corporate America and the time you invested in yourself and getting your degrees and, learning about project management and helping to run big organizations that were international.
Right. I'd be happy to. As Tom alluded to, I did come out of corporate America. I went the traditional route. Where you grow up and they say, well, you got to, first you go to college and then you get your family and then you whatever. I went the traditional route in the beginning and I went to college and that was cool. I thought I was smart as shit when I came out of college. I thought I was the you-know-what, right? The problem was that got me a good job, and I was working in corporate America, and I was making great money in corporate America. No lie. For back in those days, you know, the late 80s going into the early 90s, you know, when you start making six figures back then, that was great money, right? But there was always that entrepreneur side of me. I was the kid who was out there washing everybody's cars, mowing everybody's lawn, anything to make a buck as a kid, to be able to pay to go to the movies or whatever I wanted to do with my friends, right? So I remember getting that itch. My feet were starting to sleep in corporate America. And it was kind of like I had one of my employees, one of my guys, one of my strategists come to me and say, you know what? You're like one of the two smartest people I've ever met. He's like, the other one happens to be my cousin. You need to meet this guy. You two need to know each other. You need to do something. I don't know what it is. I don't care what it is, but it's not here. It's not what you're doing here. And I took that to heart, and I was like, wow, okay. I'm getting called out, and this is good, you know? And I loved it. And I met his cousin, and we hit it off, and we formed a company, and that was all great. The only problem coming into that, a couple of realizations. Number one, I didn't know what I didn't know. And I thought I knew everything I needed to know because I had my undergraduate degree. I had my MBA. I thought it was hot shit. I got my ass kicked everywhere to Sunday. Everywhere you could think. When you go from making six figures to zero, literally zero, that's freaking painful, dude. Mm-hmm. Now, fortunately, I did not have kids yet. I was on the cusp of getting into a really serious relationship at the time, which person happens to be my wife now. And so it was a matter of, okay, I not only realized that I didn't know what I didn't know, but I also realized I hated the field I was in. And Tom, I know you could resonate. You came from a different field too, in a way. Mm-hmm. So did I. I came out of IT. My undergrad degree was in computer science. So yeah, I had a little bit of that geeky in me. But, you know, I was running multiple multi-million-dollar projects all around the world. It was fun. It was great. However, I knew as they had me flying all over the place, staying 6 months here, 3 months there, I couldn't start a family like that. I couldn't live the life I wanted to live. I refused to step into that kind of life because I knew if I wanted to have a proper family and I wanted to have kids, I needed to be there. My dad, as great of a dad as he was, rest his soul, you know, he had 5 boys and we ate a lot and he had to work his freaking ass off, and he did, but we never saw him, you know, and I refused to create that for children of my own. So as my relationship with my then fiance became more and more serious, I'm like, look, hon, I hate what I'm doing. I don't like what I'm doing. I don't like who I'm doing it with. I don't like what I'm doing. I got to get out of this. It's time to step back, take some stock, and step into my own power. And fortunately, my wife at the time, or my fiance at the time, was working at a top 4 law firm in the world at the time as a secretary to one of the head partners. Mm-hmm. And so she was making a pretty nice penny in New York City. So we were able to step back and say, okay, if we're ever going to take a shot, it's now. You know, are we bold enough to do it? And finally it was like, you know what? Go for it. Yeah. Let's do it. And it was like that Rocky moment where his wife says, win, right? And you step up to the plate and you're like, holy shit, now what do I do? Right? It's like, okay, all right, I got the approval. I know what I want to do. Now it's a matter of figuring out what I have to do. So I went through the iterations. I started doing things a little better from the bruises I got from the previous incarnation, the previous business, which was an IT company I had started with those guys I talked about earlier. Mm-hmm. And then it was like, again, I didn't know what I didn't know. And I started to put 2 and 2 together where it was like, we need help. I need to talk to somebody who's been there, done that. I need coaching. And that was not an easy thing for me to say at the time. When your ego is so far up your own rear end that you just... And finally I got to that point and we decided, you know what? If we're going to do it, we have to go for it. We have to go all in or don't do it. And we found ourselves spending money we didn't have. We found ourselves making... It's not spending, it's investing. More money into ourselves. Because I tell you, not even including the expenses of college degrees. And I mean, I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars educating myself. I've read well over 1,000 books. Yeah, I'm that prototypical person that says all that same bullshit, but I did it, right? I know what it took. I was fortunate enough to have connected with and read as many books as I did where I felt like I was being mentored. And then I started hiring the mentors and I started really paying for it. And that's when it went like this and went that way. And that was where it was big eye-opening. And that's what started getting me thinking, as at the time I was formulating the online marketing muscle thing, which is my sales and marketing automation agency, which we're going into our 19th year this year, by the way, which is insane to me. But again, it was like, what do we want to have happen? And the clients that we did have were asking for different things than what we were offering. Basically, everyone was asking for coaching. How are you doing this? How are you getting there? And how are you? So I'm hearing this from clients. I'm hearing this from prospects. I'm understanding what started to happen to me, the transformation I was going through. And I said, you know what? If I could do anything to stop this kind of pain from happening to some other good family, to some other good dude, some other, and that's just the New York speak there, right? I wanted to try and do it. So I started doing a lot of co-coaching with a buddy of mine, another guy who was running a company at the time, and we were co-coaching each other and practicing, so to speak, on one another. Started to get good at it, started to get results. More and more people started to hire me for that. Then what I started finding out was that over a course of a few years, more people were hiring me for that than they were for my agency. But one was feeding the other and still does to this day. They hire me as a coach, then they end up hiring and buying everything I sell on the other side, in the automation side of things. They hire me as an automation side of things, then they end up hiring me as a coach and a strategist to do all those other things. So the key to all of this was not knowing what you don't know, coming to terms with that, right? Being willing to do the hard work, being willing to humble yourself, to get your rear end kicked, and be okay with that and say, you know what? All right, what else you got? And maybe that's the New York toughness in me. I don't know. But it was like, all right, hit me again. What do you got? That's it? And you start getting a little bit of a different cockiness to you almost. And I needed that. Going back 10, 15 years ago. I needed that because I needed something to hold on to that said, you know what? I'm better than this. I could have more. I have to be willing to do more. I have to be willing to become more in order for me to have more. So when I got laughed at when I started online marketing, I was, what are you starting an internet company for? The internet's just a fad. It's going to go away. What a jerk you are. You're such a smart guy, but how could you be so dumb? And I'm sitting there like, are you serious? The internet's a fad? But this was back in the beginning. The internet was not really happening yet.
Yeah.
For a lot of businesses, people didn't have websites yet. But here I was saying, you know what? I saw where things were going. I saw where the ball was going. I saw where the puck was going. And I tried to get ahead of that, and I did at the time. Now, I look at how many businesses have come and go in my industry and online marketing muscle. We're still here.
Yeah.
We're still playing the game, man. So it's like, and we had to reinvent I don't know how many times, right? I'm sure you step into that time as you're coaching people. Where you look at them and it's like, dude, time to reinvent. What got you where you were may not get you where you want to go.
Most times not.
That's right. Things change, right? You change, you evolve. I heard one of your podcasts earlier. I tuned into one of them. Dude's name, was it Drewby? You got a buddy named Drewby or a guy named Drewby who's been on one of your shows a ways back?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was talking something along that about the evolving. And I really resonated with that. That's exactly what I say, and it's exactly how I live this. And everybody needs to understand that. In my book, The Mind Stretch, we talk about evolving to actualization. And you have to continue evolving. And so this was a long journey. These 19 years of online marketing muscle, holy crap. You know, I could never imagine being who I am now and how I'm showing up for people today would be who I would be 19 years ago.
Mm-mm.
But it's got to start somewhere.
Yeah. It's got to start. Listen, there's so many pieces that we can pick apart in what you just came and said. And I'm going to touch some bullet points here
Cool.
so we don't beat the dead horse either. Right.
Right.
So, number one, you invested in yourself.
Yes.
It wasn't an
Tremendous.
expense, it's an investment. Okay. Key piece there.
Right.
Since you invested in yourself, you actually won. Imagine that. But in order to win after investing in yourself, the key to it is you got to do the damn work.
That's right.
You can't just invest in the coach, invest in the program, the course, the software, the whatever, and think that magically all your shit's going to go away.
Right.
That's not reality. Right.
Well, that's what people want to buy.
No.
They think that that's what they're getting when they buy a lot of things like coaching, and they think all of a sudden, you know, all your problems are going to go away. I'm sorry, folks. I wish I could tell you that's the case, but no.
Yeah. You know, my perception of coaching when I first started coaching, because I had hired a gentleman before you, work with a guy, I don't know, 6 months, 8 months, whatever the case may be. And it's funny. It's funny. He actually led me to you. He didn't even know it. He suggested that we get a CRM platform in the company. And he said, these are 3 or 4 that I like. Go check these out. And we wound up choosing Infusionsoft, now Keep.
Right.
And I'm in that software one day, a notification pops up in the right-hand window. And it's like, there's a local Infusionsoft user group. Click here if you want to go. And I show up, and sure as shit, it's your group.
Right.
And our relationship, you know, went on from there.
Right.
It's funny how that happens. But the whole point I'm trying to make here is, here's something that's real. I'm a driven individual. So are you.
Yes.
If you told me how much work I was going to have to go do on me to get to where I am today, then I might not have actually done it.
Correct. And do you know, and you realize now why I never told you that. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But that's not unlike most people, no matter how driven you are. If somebody tells you that beforehand, most of us, I'd say 99.9% of us would never become the person we're supposed to become, would never have the impact we're supposed to have. Mm-hmm. Right? So the best coaches know how to play this game too. And we know how to work with you, with what you're capable of receiving at that moment, what you're capable of seeing at that moment, without the overwhelm, without the chaos, without the trying. It's not like we're trying to trick you. We may not be vomiting it on you, to put it a horrible way, but you get the point.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. No, for sure. You know, there's a couple of pieces that working with you, not just a couple, a lot of what we covered and discussed in our sessions has influenced me at a great level. And even, I mean, shit, dude, some of the stuff that we covered in our talks is stuff that I wind up covering with my clients now, just in my version of it.
Great.
And it's wild to see it kind of progress.
Yes.
Right.
Exactly.
But here's one thing that I took away from you that I don't see a lot of other coaches or consultants doing. When someone hires you, they get all of you. Right? And maybe your packages have changed at this point, but just stick with me for a minute. Mm-hmm. When someone hires you, whether they need to go whiteboard something or you need to climb into the software and make it fucking happen right then and there, you do it.
Right.
And I took that and said, okay, I actually like this.
Right.
And it's one of the things that I'll do with my clients now. If they run into an issue and I have a very simple solution to it, maybe it's a software suggestion, maybe it's, hey, let me just go in here and knock this out with you right now. It'll take us 20 minutes.
Right.
Let's go and do it. Right? Because at the end of the day, I would say it's safe to say that you and I are both nerds. We like to tinker. We like the bells and the whistles.
Right.
And not everyone does. So what may seem and come very natural to us may be a challenge for others. And
Right.
it's one of the perks of coming to work with someone like me or you.
Thank you for that, by the way. I appreciate hearing that. And I certainly, um, I resonate with it, because I also look at when I was first going after coaching, there are a lot of coaches out there. Everybody's quick to tell you what you need to do, what you should do. But there were very few, if any, that were willing to find out what you truly wanted, and then be willing to take you by the hand and say, you know what? I know you're looking for diamonds.
Mhm.
You know what? I know where there's a diamond mine. Why don't you take my hand? I'll walk you into the mine. Once I get you into the mine, I'll tell you what. I'll show you what you need to have and how to mine those diamonds. Right? And then once we get out of the mine with those diamonds, I'll show you what to do with them. How would that be for you? And that resonated with a lot of my early on clients. And it's been something that I stick to this day. You
Mhm.
know, yeah, maybe it means I don't take on as many clients, but that also came to me with, dare I say it, maturity also. You get a clear understanding of how much do you really need? What kind of life do I really want? I
Yeah.
created these businesses to be able to give me the life I wanted, not the other way around. I don't live to run businesses,
Mhm.
where maybe 15 years ago I might have thought differently. But again, now in my mid 50s, I'm a little different now. I think a little different now. A little bit more white going on down here, probably since the last time you saw me, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Same here,
and you
pal.
and I see it. And you know what? Some of that comes with the territory, not only of being a
Mhm.
dad and a husband, but being a coach. What a lot of people don't realize, that you take on a lot of times the burden of the people you're coaching. And that,
Mhm.
a lot of people don't think that, oh, well, they're paying them so much money. But you know what? Your coach doesn't stop thinking about you just because you're not sitting together in a room, or you're not on a Zoom call together, or whatever at that moment.
Yeah.
The coaching never stops. The wheels never stop turning in the coach's head, at least not the good coaches,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I
And,
agree.
and it's like, again, I saw that in your eyes years ago.
Mhm.
I also
Yeah.
saw the pain in your eyes of what that company you had at the time was doing to you.
Mhm.
And I recognized it, because remember when I said my feet were sleeping in corporate
Yeah.
America? You kind of recognize that, right? Your feet were
Yeah.
sleeping a bit there. You know, way under tapped potential. You
Yeah.
know,
Agreed. Agreed. It's I often talk about it with my wife, like, hey, remember when?
yeah, absolutely,
And we kind of reminisce a bit about some of the past stuff, but you were trying to tell me in a kind way for many, many years, and you also knew that I had to figure it out and discover it on my own too. So you planted the seeds and you let me stumble upon them when the time was right, which I respect the hell out of you for that.
hmm
Because let's call it what it is. Most people, most hard driven people,
right,
egotistical, maybe
right,
a little bit alpha, maybe a
right,
little bit rough around the edges, New York maybe.
right,
If you come and directly tell that person, hey, you're fucking up over here and this is what you need to do to go fix it,
right,
they're going to be like, what the fuck do you think you are?
exactly, hmm
Right. So
correct,
that was not, and listen, you and I have had conversations like that too, but that was not the approach that you took to basically kindly and gently notify me that, hey, there's a lot more in you than what you're currently doing right now. Right. And I mean, dude, realistically, I'd say it took a solid 5 years from when you planted those seeds.
right,
And I knew it. In
right,
my heart of hearts, I knew it.
right,
But it took me a solid 5 years to ultimately make the decision, to get the balls to make the decision to say, hey, I've had enough. This is not for me any longer.
right. I was both shocked and pleasantly surprised and thrilled when I heard you break apart from
Yeah.
what you were doing. And it's not because I thought the business or your partner were bad. Had nothing to do with it. It's
Mhm.
just I was seeing a man who was itching to become what he's supposed to become, and it's like you were shackled. You were
Mhm.
completely shackled. And when you were held in those shackles like that, it was like the deer in the headlights thing. You start getting that eyes roll to the back of the head, like, oh, should I just go to sleep and allow this to become all there is for me?
Mhm.
Right? Not a good option, especially as you're stepping into a marriage and kids are entering the picture. And I remember when your kids were first entering into the picture,
Yeah.
and it's like Now, thank goodness, right? Because now you think of how you're able to show up, right? I look at that now, too, with my kids. And I don't know if you're aware, but I homeschool my kids now. The last 3.5 years, I became a homeschooling dad. Holy crap. Talk about the ultimate challenge of a coach to take on now coaching your children in that way. When everybody, again, what are you, crazy? Why would you pull them out? They're going to be missing this. They're losing that. And I'm like, really? You know, my kids were having difficulty reading because this public school was failing them.
Yeah.
Public school does such a great job of telling you why you suck and why you'll have nothing and be nobody. Unless you do exactly what they say and you know, no, I don't think so. I've watched my kids transform. And holy shit, what a difference a couple of years makes.
Yeah.
And I keep thinking, man, imagine somebody caught me like that when I was their age. Where might I be right now? Because I'll tell you, folks, I had to spend I haven't been in college since the mid-90s. It was when I wrapped up my MBA. And it's taken me that long to unlearn the shit that they taught me. Because the stuff they taught me was nothing like what you're hearing through Tom's podcasts here. Nothing. Yeah. You know, I was like, what world are these people living in? Here I stepped out thinking I was so well-tooled and so well-prepared, only to find out, wow, who was I fooling?
Yeah.
You know, and who's the one who paid for it?
Yeah.
Right? Ultimately. So I'm not saying don't go to college for those of you younger and still aspire. Do what you feel you need to do. But understand, public schools, colleges, they are not the be-all, end-all. The education does not stop. When you finish those, when you wrap them up, it starts when you, attend Step It Up Academy. That's where it starts.
Yeah.
That's where this next iteration begins. The next level of the game, and there are more levels. It's up to you. What do you want?
Yep.
What do you want to have happen? Right?
That's the biggest question, right? And it's one of the biggest questions that we have to start the coaching conversations with. And you did with me. I remember you breaking my balls one day real hard, and not in a bad way. Like you weren't, you know, it was, we started playing the why game. It's like, you know, hey, what do you want? And then you just kept going layer and layer. And bro, by the third or fourth layer, I wanted to give up, but like we got to get through this.
That's right.
And if we don't get through it in today's session, you're going to go home and figure it the fuck out. So you come back prepared the next time you're here.
Right.
And it was through doing that hard exercise and going those deep layers and really getting to the root cause or the core of why you want to do the certain things you want to do, or why you want the object that you say you want so much.
Correct.
Right. And I think one of the most common things that you and I both come across is we get the people who come in and like, I want to make $1 million.
Right.
Okay, cool. What the fuck for? Right. And in some businesses, you better make $1 million because your profit margins are so damn thin, you're going to need it.
That's right.
In the case of Top Class, that was very real and relevant.
Right. Absolutely.
Right. My business model now, right? Full transparency. I didn't do $1 million last year. I'm going to do it this year.
Right.
But you know what the difference is? Right? I'm a one-man fucking show.
Right.
I don't have 25 people on my team.
Right.
So that is a tremendous difference. And my reasons and purpose for wanting that as a gross revenue KPI for the year of 2023 are much greater than I could ever imagine in Top Class. Excellent. And I get to impact more people with it at a much higher level.
How does that feel?
That's just that right there is what makes it all possible. That right there is the driving factor, the driving force.
Right. It's priceless.
It's as simple as that.
It's priceless.
You can't explain it to someone who hasn't experienced it.
Right. I get you. I do get you. And hopefully there'll be somebody listening to this conversation today that will take that to heart and go for it.
Yeah.
Be willing to do the stuff that both Tom and I are speaking about here. If it were easy, everybody be doing it. Let's just put it that way. I've seen even the smartest, people who we thought were the smartest, fall by the wayside very quickly.
Yeah.
You know, because it takes a little bit more than book smarts. You know, a lot of it is just that willingness to stay in it, to get your butt kicked and get up. And maybe that has something to do with me having 3 older brothers. You know, being willing to get my butt kicked and get back up and keep fighting.
Mm-hmm.
Swing back again. You know, because if I don't, it's only going to happen again. I got to get my respect.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's just the way it goes. And maybe that was an advantage for me. Maybe not. I don't know. But I do know that if I didn't stick at it the way I have, I wouldn't be able to homeschool my kids right now.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be able to be on a conversation like this with a man like Tom and have this level conversation and this level of admiration, you know, and this level of, may I say it, and this is meant as no disrespect, but satisfaction.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you, when you're playing a game like this and you're doing things for the right reasons. I got in coaching, I believe, for the right reasons. I could have done anything I wanted to do. I'm sure of that. And I don't say that to brag. It is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a dumb guy, just like Tom's not a dumb guy. Tom could run any business. He's choosing to do this one right now. This one resonates. And maybe in 5 years, he'll do something different. Who knows? That's his choice. Right? But for now, this is freaking awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And it's nice to see the entrepreneurial community start to wake up and start to step up, because they start to realize that, you know what? Being successful in business is not a given, period.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Being a New Yorker, born and bred here, and Tom, I know you had roots here too. And it's when I saw the devastation that's happened to New York City and New York businesses over these last 3 years, it's mind-boggling to me and heart-wrenching to me. You know, and I was on a podcast the other day giving a statistic where I think it was upwards of almost 40% of businesses failed and went out of business.
Wow.
Small businesses went down in these last 3 years. Now, 20% go down every year anyway. But, you know, you got to look at it that we more than doubled it. Why? Because we had freaking nut jobs burning down the city. We had nut jobs running the city. We had nut jobs running the state.
Mm-hmm.
And Tom did the smart thing and ran from the state. I'm not that smart yet.
One of the best decisions I've ever made in life. Yeah.
But, you know, this is what we're dealing with here in New York. But still, I look at it and I say, you know what? Thank goodness that I was willing to put the hard work in, because if I didn't, I wouldn't be able to withstand the punches I'm getting right now. And I'm taking some haymakers,
Mm-hmm.
you know? We got people dying left and right up here still, you know, whatever's going on. And I don't want to get into that conversation, but, you know, it's one of the worst haymakers you could take is when you're seeing people your age, friends you grew up with and loved and spent so much time with, dying with what I believe are not the real right reasons.
Mm-hmm.
You know, holy crap, man. You know, so again, all of this is a choice. Everything we do is a choice, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just the same as us choosing to be here today.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm big on that. And it's funny, was having a bunch of conversation, even at my last Step It Up Academy live event, which was, I think, 2 or 3 weeks ago already at this point, which is wild. We went into the conversation of everyone has a choice, right? And let's just call it what it is. No matter what you choose, action or inaction, your life's going to be fucking hard.
Right.
I don't care what it is you do. You want to sit in the couch and get fat and get overweight and unhealthy, life's going to be hard. You want to get your ass up in the morning and go into the gym and take care of yourself and eat well, that's going to be hard too.
Right.
Right. So and this is like, you know, cliche is all shit, but go choose your hard.
Yeah.
It resonates, and there's a lot of weight in that sentence. Choose your hard. Either which way you go,
I like it.
At the fork of the road, you're going to face hardship. Now, how do you want to face it is the question.
Right. Right. So I agree with that. I agree with it 100%. I do agree that if you don't have to fight a little for it, you'll never appreciate it. And when you have fought and you fought hard and then you find victory and you find satisfaction in that. Wow. The power in that. When you find yourself in a position in your life that you could be, do, or have anything, that's a powerful place to be. And don't think that no matter where you are on this scale of things, that it's not going to be hard at every level. Matter of fact, I think it gets harder because the choices you have to make become bigger.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that, Tom? What do you think?
Yeah. The challenges increase, right? At every level that you go up, there's going to be a new challenge, a new devil that you're going to face. And literally, it's just like playing video games back in the day.
Right.
The boss at the end of the round gets harder every level that you increase. Right. So I'll give you a for instance, right? And this goes back to the top class days, and you were around for this. We get our first big school bus project over a summer, and at the time it was me, my ex-partner, and a handful of guys who helped out here and there.
Right.
It was 500 school buses, and we said, "Holy shit! How are we going to get this project done?" And we went to work and we figured it out, and we worked all summer getting this done. Fast forward a couple of years, we wound up landing a project from the New York City Board of Ed. They gave us 4,000 school buses to do in the same summer, right? And we got it done.
Right.
Was it easy? Absolutely not. But if we hadn't gone and done those 500 and lessons learned basically say, hey, I don't want to ever do that again. So let me go put some systems and processes in place. Let me go find a software solution that's going to mitigate this risk, right? That's going to help me become more efficient because I'm tired of doing all of this the old school manual way, pushing buttons, pulling levers, and paper forms and the whole 9 yards, right? Let's go find something that will help us document, automate, and just run a cleaner business.
Right.
If we hadn't had those struggles years prior and then built the infrastructure in between, when that 4,000 school bus order came over, we would have said, no, we can't handle it. Sorry, no thanks.
Right. Agreed.
So effectively, we would have fucked off a $400,000 project.
Right. You know, it's funny you mentioned that. I remember those days. I remember when you were going through that. But I'll tell you, and this is for all of you out there to hear too, it wasn't as simple as what Tom just said to you. You know, I want you to understand what was going on and what he and his partner at the time, although Tom had to kind of force him into it, were willing to do. You know, I remember them coming into my offices over the holidays, spending a couple of days. We locked in a room. We got the whiteboards out and the flip charts and worked through all the details, all the lessons learned and this and that. It's that willingness. Again, it's that understanding. It's that clarity. It's that leadership that Tom was bringing that team at that time that enabled that team to do that. If he didn't do that and he wasn't willing to bring it in here, you know, and allow me the opportunity to facilitate with that, that would have, number one, may never have happened because it matured the company a lot by their willingness to come in and work on it and talk about the tough stuff, right? And not point fingers and not blame everybody else. We know some shit didn't go so great. We know some shit went amazing, right? But that's where the leadership came in, right? And I remember that. And that stuff didn't come easy. So I don't want everybody to think that, oh, it's just, you know, Tom said, yeah, let's go. And all of a sudden, no, he worked hard at that time. That was painful work, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, but you know what? That painful work also set the foundation and structure for a lot more to come in the future.
You bet.
And even for what I'm doing now. Right. So the structure that we used, that I remember it very clearly. It was me, you, and our office manager and my ex-partner.
Right.
In your office. We spent 2 days in front of a whiteboard. And my ass hurt after the 2 days because we sat in the damn chair for so long. I remember the structure of the meeting very vividly. I remember the exercises that we went through. I remember doing SWOT analysis with you, the whole 9 yards. And it's still stuff that I use and leverage today, not only inside of my own company, but also when I'm working with my clients. Hey, we got to get to the root cause of whatever this issue may be. Let's go. And this is the framework or structure we're going to use. Right. So it's, again, yes, I paid you to help facilitate and run that meeting for my team.
Right.
However, I didn't leave it there. I took that structure. I took the lessons learned. I took what you were doing for us and said, okay, cool. Now that I've seen it done, and now I can also understand it more, now I'm going to do this moving forward. And I don't necessarily, so basically going back to what you talked about earlier about, mining the diamonds and whatnot, I'll use the other equation. Like, you taught me how to fish.
Right.
You didn't just hand me the fish and say, here you go. I just solved your problem. No. I'm going to take you out fishing. I'm going to show you how to set everything up. And here we go. And then when we get home, this is how you fillet the fish. This is how you cook it. This is and the whole process.
Correct.
So, yeah, I invested money with you years ago, but it is still giving me an ROI to this day.
I mean, how freaking powerful is that? And this is when I was saying before about, I don't want people to step away thinking that it was easy, right? You made a major investment at that time. And I'm not just talking monetarily. I'm talking way beyond the money. I'm talking time. I'm talking thinking. I'm talking evolving. And I knew you could do it, right? I don't want to get into your relationship with your partner and whatever at that time, but partnerships have their ups and partnerships have their downs. And it's hard when two partners, and this goes whether it's a marriage, whether it's a business partnership, if those two partners aren't seeing eye to eye and they're doing this, as they both have a different desire for where things go, it really makes everything even harder, because it's not like you could just go run off and do it yourself then. When the other person is saying, I don't want that. It's not what I want. So it makes it even more challenging. Again, more battle hardening for you, if you get my drift, right? That it toughens you up, made you stronger, right? And the way I've always said it, my desire was for you to take what we work on, put your flavor on it, bring it to the world. This is what we need to do. And the same that I hope you're telling your clients to do. Take what you're sharing with them, bring it to the world, but put their spin on it. Because we each bring something to the equation. And all these iterations of making it better and better and better and better. And the entrepreneur of today has a much easier shot at doing a lot because there's so much available to you.
Yeah.
As opposed to when I was first starting Online Marketing Muscle 20 years ago. Very different landscape. I was out there going from physical networking meeting to networking meeting to networking meeting. And my wife's in the hospital, and then my daughter's born and she's in the NICU, and I'm going networking meeting, NICU, back to the networking over here in the NICU, and holy crap.
Yeah.
You're running around like the proverbial chicken without a head. That's what it felt like. And then tools started evolving. Possibilities started evolving. Thank goodness. And with this new crop of entrepreneurs, and this is part of how I'm looking at it too, Tom, right now, is I look at, all right, we had, let's say 40% of New York businesses go down, small businesses go down in the last couple of years. While that sucks, I do look at it like, okay, well, this is going to spawn out of it a new crop, because you will not hold the entrepreneur down. I don't care what you do, what you try. If they're true entrepreneurs, you will not hold them down. They'll be back, right? And they'll be back more battle hardened. They'll be looking for bigger, better ways of doing things. So operations like Step It Up Academy should boom in the next 5 years, is the way I look at it. This is just scratching the surface right now.
Yeah.
Right?
I agree.
And I think you get it and you feel it, or else you wouldn't be doing it.
No. And you know what? Even if I would do it regardless, because it's in my heart.
Yeah.
And I'm hard-headed enough to say, "Oh, fuck you, I'm going anyway."
Right. I get you.
So I want to pivot here for a second, but it's still aligned with what we're talking about. There is no barrier of entry to become a coach in today's online world. And look, Dude, you've been doing this for 2 decades at this point.
Yeah.
You've got a lot of experience. You've been in the game longer than I have. Okay, it is what it is. Um, what's your take on a lot of these dudes who come into the space? They buy some online course, they join someone's coaching or mastermind program, and all of a sudden they think they're the fucking expert and they can go help the world.
Yep.
Yet they haven't really done shit in their own life. And they either give up on it or keep it going half-assed and then start this new program over here where they want to go and offer their services and charge people $2,500 to $5,000 a month
Right.
for coaching. What's your take on that? And I also, on the backside of that, I want to get your input on what someone should be looking out for when they're looking to hire a coach for themselves.
Sure. Let me start this out with a little story of something from my past. I was speaking at an organization at an event, and so I went up and I did my dog and pony show, and then when I got off stage and I walked towards the back of the room, this woman came up to me and started attacking, calling me out. You know, who do you think you are? You know, what credentials do you have to be able to coach these people? You know, and I'm looking at her and I'm laughing at her making an ass of herself. And I said, you know, I don't know what kind of credentials you're referring to, but I said, you know what? You see that guy over there? Go ask him what I've helped him do in his business. You see that girl over there? Go ask her what she's doing in her business now. See that guy back there? Go ask him. And how about that guy over there? Go ask him too. There's your fucking credentials. Mm-hmm. What else do you need to hear? Right? The fact that I didn't get certified by the company you got certified, who the hell certified them? Right? I said, I don't need your certification. You know? I said, go talk to them. I'll leave it at that. Mm-hmm. You still have an issue? Go F yourself. Yeah. You know? It's bottom line at that point. It's like, then I can't help you. I'm not going to sit here and argue with you. To me, you know, the proof is always in the pudding. Right? It's like, you can try and fool yourself all you want about, I have to have this certification, or they're giving me permission now to be a coach. Really? Just because you took a class, that means all of a sudden you think you're qualified to coach somebody through? And I'll tell you, folks, and Tom will attest to this, I'm sure, coaching an entrepreneur goes way beyond talking about their business. Mm-hmm. Way beyond. And if you're not prepared to do that, be careful in this space, because you could do a lot of harm. You know, and Tom, I don't know, you may have a spin on that. You might like to add.
Yeah, I do. And it's funny. One of my close friends, Chris Whitehead, he coaches as well. We were having a conversation on this recently. And Chris does a lot of leadership coaching. That's his jam. Where, I'm more of the back end, the operations. That's my specialty.
Right.
Which is cool because we've got some crossover clients as well. But we were having a long, deep talk. He was here at the house a couple of weeks ago because he came and spoke at my event. And he's like, man, because if we actually told people during the sales call with what we're actually going to help them with, no one would ever spend a fucking dollar with us.
Right.
I was like, wow, you're right. Because, hey, people come to me and they say, hey, I need help with operations and systems and this, that, the other thing. Cool. They come to him. Hey, I need help. I need help with leadership. I need help with, how do I help my people better? The whole spiel that comes with leadership. And that's what attracts them to us. If we led with the other way and said, hey, when you come in here, we're going to develop you into a better person so you can turn into the leader that you're destined to become. No one would spend the dollar because they're like, oh, no, fuck you. I'm fine. I'm perfect. That's where the ego comes in, right?
Right.
So that's my take on it. And I've also oftentimes heard it phrased like this, that you need to sell the hole and not the drill.
Right. Absolutely.
So I'm selling you the hole, saying, hey, yeah, we're going to dial in your business. We're going to help you with your operations. We're going to help you with structure. We're going to help you with the hiring process. We're going to help you with all of this stuff.
Right.
That's the whole.
Right.
But I could help you build all of this. But if you don't elevate as a person, you're never going to be able to go in there and run and operate these systems that we put together at their highest potential. And you're 100% right. Oftentimes, and I remember very, very, very vividly with you coming into your office, and we would never start talking about business.
Right.
Sometimes it would be the first 30 minutes, sometimes it'd be the first 45 minutes to an hour.
Right.
We'd wind up just talking life and, hey, what's going on with the family and all this stuff.
Right.
Is everything over there good and in place, or is something over there going to impact what we're doing over here today business wise?
Right.
And it's just true. I was listening to a guy speak about a year and a half ago. Very successful guy, owns a roofing company down here in Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say successful, I mean like probably the top roofing company in the nation.
Right.
Doing hundreds of millions of dollars in sales, and he runs a massive team. And from stage, he said, "In business, there is no such thing as a business problem. It's simply personal problems that carry over into the business."
Right.
It's like, God damn it, he's
Right.
fucking right.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Right. Powerful.
Yeah.
Powerful.
Yeah. So let's finish up the second half of the question. When someone is looking for a coach,
Yes,
what is your suggestion to them? Hey, what are the criteria that you should look for? What are the bullet points that you should look for to make sure that you're a good match for this particular coach?
well, I mean, it starts with you. It starts with getting clear on what it is you want and why you believe you want that. That's always the start of everything. Until you're clear on what you want and not what you think others expect of you. I'm talking, you really have to do some soul searching here. Do you really want, and are you really mature enough to have a coach who's going to call you out on your shit? Because if you're not, don't hire Tom. If you're not, don't hire me.
Yeah.
I'm from New York, baby. I'm going to tell you the shit the way it is, like it or don't like it. I don't sugarcoat. The best coaches, I would say, don't. You got to find a coach that's willing to tell you what you need to hear. Not because they're trying to hurt you, but because they're coming from a space of love, I always say. They're coming from a space of caring. Why do you think, as Tom mentioned, Tom and I would speak so long for, about him personally? If I didn't take the time to get to know him in that way, my coaching would have been flawed at that time, because I'm not really taking into consideration what Tom wants and what Tom needs, because your coach needs to not be stuck in their ego. So you want to make sure you're choosing a coach that's not stuck on themselves, not me mentality, right? You want to find opportunities to check them out a lot, listen to them speak, see them on stage. How do they carry themselves? And believe me, there's a lot out there that know how to put on a good show, but when push comes to shove, they're not really the real deal. And I hate to say that, but it is true.
Very true.
Are they battle tested? What's their story? Do you resonate with their story? Because if you don't resonate with their story, you're probably not going to resonate with their way of being. Mm-hmm. Do they come from similar upbringings? You want to factor in whatever's important to you. And I'll tell you flat out, no, they do not need a certification from some cockamamie certification company. I would much rather hire Tom to coach me than somebody who has a certification through XYZ or us. Who gives a crap?
Yeah.
I told you I came from IT. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that drove me nuts when I was in the IT industry was that I would have executive management when I was in corporate America coming down on me saying, why do you have this guy on your payroll that you're paying him $250,000 a year? You're paying this guy. And, when we could hire 7 other of these guys over here who have this certification. And I'm like, just because they got a certification doesn't mean they know how to work their way around a wiring closet. When I have a client who's paying us $750 million for a project, I'm not sticking a $20,000 a year, paper certification kid in a closet that needs, a guy who's been there and knows how to wire a closet, who can unwire it and rewire it. And you know this, Tom, from the top class days. There are
Yeah.
guys who, yeah, they might have a certification, but do they really know what they're doing when they pull that dashboard off? What are they
Yeah.
looking at? Do they know what they're looking at? Do they know how to troubleshoot? So when it comes to your coach, you want to make sure that you're choosing a coach not because they have paper certifications. What are their true certifications? Where have they been? What have they done? What kind of battle testing have they been through? Do they coach on the elements of the business that you want to learn? Keep in mind,
Mhm.
there may be numerous coaches that you have over time. You may have one that helps you through the process of building systems. You may have another that builds you through the process of fixing your mindset. You may have another
Mhm.
that teaches you how to be the best leader you could be. Sometimes they don't all come in one package. Be okay with that,
Yeah.
right? Be all right with that because you have to be. There's
Mhm.
very few people on the planet that can do all of that and do it all
Yeah.
great. So,
I like to use a professional athlete analogy here.
yes,
Right? You take a guy like Tom Brady, granted he just retired, but do you think that guy's got one coach, the head coach of the football
correct.
team? Absolutely not. He's probably got 30 different coaches in his
That's
life.
correct. That is
Right.
correct.
And each of them is there for a very specific reason. Because again, as you elevate and learn more, now you also, in my opinion, this is my opinion here, you have to also silo and segment where you're getting the information and specific needs to. And I'm also a big fan of go hire the person who's going to help you achieve the goal that you have set for yourself.
Correct. Absolutely.
So hey, if I need to shore up the operations and systems in my company, find a you,
Yeah,
right? And let me get that shit in place so we can go become more efficient and make more
correct.
money.
Correct. Absolutely. I
Yeah.
use baseball analogy too all the time. Baseball players have a hitting coach, a fielding coach, a throwing coach, a running coach, a this coach, a that coach. Um, that's okay. And maybe in the beginning you don't have the money to afford 20 different coaches. So you've got to think about what is the one element you need to work on first. And
Mhm.
one of the big areas that I say with a lot of entrepreneurs, and this may sting a little bit, it's your mindset.
Mhm.
That is probably the biggest area of problem that I see because you will only grow and your business will only grow to the degree you do. Period. End the game. Story's over, right?
Mhm.
If you got the stinking thinking going on here, what makes you think your business is going to be able to reach the numbers you're saying it's going to reach?
Yeah.
It isn't happening. I just
Mhm.
did a training for Keep. You mentioned Keep earlier. I
Sure.
trained their partners. They
Mhm.
asked me to train their partners, and I said, okay, I'll take it on as long as you let me train them on what I think and what
Mhm.
I feel they need. And they're like, okay, well, what's that? And I said, mindset, right? They all have, they don't need me to teach them another marketing tactic. They're great at
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Where they suck is here.
Mhm.
Not believing in themselves, not believing that they could be more, do more, have more, not really fully understanding and being willing to do what it takes, right? Not being willing to grow their most vital asset, themselves. Now, that doesn't mean they're all doing that, but there was a large portion, the portion that I've met, that are like that. I'm sorry. And my Keep friends out there, apologies, but no apologies.
Mhm.
I call it as I see it. And I gave the best of what I had to it. And then I had the guy from Keep saying that was the best training that they received in the last 12 months. And I said,
Mhm.
well, there you go. That means I hit a nerve.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I hit the nerve. And you, as an entrepreneur, you have to be willing to allow your nerve to be hit.
Mhm.
If you're not willing, you have to question whether or not you really have what it takes to do what you're saying you want. And it's okay if you come to grips with that and come to terms and say, you know what, maybe I really don't want that. That's okay. It's your life. It's your choice,
Yeah.
right?
I agree. I agree. Before we wrap up here, tell us a little bit more about online marketing muscle. Like who do you want to work with? What are the services that you provide people? Dive into that a little bit if you could, because I know a lot of it's changed since you and I have worked with each other as well.
Sure. Well, as I may have alluded to, I have two main companies that I play hard in right now. I have my sales and marketing automation agency, right? Where We partner with companies like Keep. We do a lot of systems building. We do a lot of strategizing. We do a lot of automation for small businesses around the country, let's say. Then there's the Dean Mercado company, which is really more of my bread and butter. It's my sweet spot. It allows me to be the jackass I want to be. And that's where my coaching is. That's where my speaking comes from. That's where my book came from. That's part of my machine, my personal machine. And you are not your business. Your business is not you, right? I've heard you talk about the concept of personal branding and being able to separate. He's right. You have to be willing to break that apart. I broke it apart because Dean, me, the owner, was getting in the way of my agency, and vice versa. My agency was getting in the way of me becoming who I needed to become. I may not own that agency forever. For now, I do. I may sell it someday. I don't know. I'm okay with it either way. Online Marketing Muscle, onlinemarketingmuscle.com. Our main system there is called Clone the Owner, right? That's our trademarked framework that we climb inside that entrepreneur's head and we help you optimize and scale, baby. We go at it, right? And that's, Clone the Owner. You can find that clonetheowner.com. You can find us at onlinemarketingmuscle.com or deanmercado.com if you just want to find me and find everything else that I do and what I'm involved in. If I may, Tom, I just want to point out I'm on a little bit of a mini mission this year,
Sure.
within our bigger mission, the Dean Mercado mission. I'm going to be omnipresent this year. I spent the last 3.5 years really focusing on homeschooling my kids. My kids are getting to the point where they could teach themselves, and they're still 13 and 15 at the time of this recording. But my mini mission is I really, being in New York and dealing with what I saw happen these last 3 years, I have to do something about it. And I'm on a mini mission to enlighten and empower as many entrepreneurs as I can to try and offset the damage that's been done. This new crop of entrepreneurs coming through, you're going to see me everywhere. You're going to hear me everywhere. I'm going to get 1 million eyeballs this year, or more. And you know me, Tom, I never restrict it to a number or more. That's my intention. That's why I'm here speaking with Tom, and I'm not just looking to bring attention to me. This is not about me. I'm trying to bring attention to anybody who can help all these up and coming entrepreneurs that need help, because they do need help. And if you're one of those entrepreneurs, you do need to come to terms with it's okay to ask for help. Tune into this stuff. Listen to this stuff. So my mini mission is to get those 1 million+ eyeballs this year, which is a big change for what I've flown under the radar for a lot of years, especially the last couple of years, on purpose. It's what I wanted. My kids are getting a little bit older now. This is good. I'm getting a little older now. I've evolved a little bit more. What I want today may not be what I wanted 5 years ago. So the intention with this mini mission is to get out and just spread the word, help people, right? I'm not looking for everybody on the planet to hire me. I don't need that. But if I can help one entrepreneur, this is good. If I could help 10, even better. If I could help 1,000, now we're talking. That's why I call it a mini mission for me this year. And you will be seeing more of me. You'll be seeing me everywhere. And that's on purpose. And yeah, Tom, I may be pestering you a bit to come be part of that, because I think what you're bringing and what I'm hearing from you, I'm loving it. I'm loving it. There's not enough of this. Yeah. I couldn't learn this in college. If I had you back then as my college professor, life would have been different. This is the way I look at it now. Yeah. And we could all learn something from anybody. Be open to it. Get out of your own way.
Yeah, that's the truth. I'm gonna wrap up on this point right here.
Yes.
I'm sure you have this too. I've got several clients who out earn me by a metric fuck ton. And self-limiting belief comes in every so often. It's like, well, how can you help this person? They're doing more than you are.
Right.
Yeah, in that one area of life.
Right.
In another area of life where I'm dialed in, they're not.
Right.
And that's the trade-off. That's the help. And the other piece of the puzzle is, and I know you're familiar with this too, and this is one of the beauties of coaching. Sometimes during a coaching session, the roles reverse. It may be for a split second, it may be for 5 minutes, maybe for 10 minutes. You'll get into something deep with your client, and your client comes in, they flip the script on you, and they fucking school you on something that you had no idea about.
Right.
And I think that's just beautiful,
Right.
right? Because at the end of the day, none of us know it all.
That's right.
None of us know
That's
it all.
correct.
So
It's our willingness to take it on, though. It's our willingness to grow ourselves. And as I've always said, and remember this, um, you're going to learn as much from your clients as your clients learn from you. If you get a coach that doesn't believe that philosophy, you probably have the wrong coach, right?
yeah.
So, and also, never hire a coach who isn't being coached themselves and hasn't been coached themselves. Two big things to think about as you step into this space and step around this space. I hope this was helpful.
Dean, man, I really appreciate you coming in here, spending some time with us. I listen. This is an impactful episode. The people who choose to listen to this and listen to it from start to finish should definitely get a lot from it. So thank you for coming in. Thank you for sharing your expertise, your knowledge, and I just appreciate the shit out of you and always have.
Likewise, my friend. Thank you. I really appreciate being here with you. Every conversation I get with you is treasure. Fantastic, man.
Talk soon.
All right.